Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijanavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanacharim Yamunatira Vanacharim Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Ram Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Janam Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanacharim Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai 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 Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna, good morning. So we're reading today from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā, chapter 13 and chapter 13, das ist hier gar nicht drauf. Nee, das fängt ja mit Kapitel 20 an. Ich habe mein Handy auch leider nicht dabei. Wenn jemand ein Handy hat. Jemand ein Handy? Ich glaube, Dean, hast du es? Und ein bisschen weiter singen. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam.
Das sollte eigentlich nicht ausgehen, der Bildschirm. Also der Bildschirm sollte anbleiben, aber vielleicht musst du ihn ab und zu mal bewegen.
Okay. So, we're reading today from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Und du brauchst die deutsche Variante, gell? Das ist da. Vielleicht kannst du es ihr Kishori und Mataji geben. We are reading from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā, chapter 13, verse 62. Please repeat. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Hara Ila Vismayam. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Please chant. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya. Rajare Prasada Deki Ha Ila Vismayam. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya Rajare Prasada Dekiha Ila Vismaya. Ladies. Sarvabhauma Kashi Mishra Dui Mahashaya Rajare Prasada Dekiha Ila Vismaya. Ich habe noch kein Englisches. Ich habe keins. Saya Rajare Prasada Dekiha Ila Vismaya. Thank you very much. Ist es richtig jetzt? Dann kannst du es denen geben, ist dein Handy. Vielen Dank. So, 62. Word by word translation. Please repeat. Sarvabhauma. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Kashimishra. Kasimishra. Dui Mahashaya. Two great personalities. Rajare. Unto the king. Prasada. Mercy. Deki. Seeing. Ha'ila. Became. Vismaya. Astonished. So the name of this chapter, chapter 13, is The Lord's Dancing at Ratha Yatra. Übersetzung, translation. When the two great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. So no purport, so we'll continue reading a few more verses. E Madhya-līlā Prabhu Kaila Katakshana Apane Gayena Nachana Nija Bhaktagana. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. Kabu Eka Murti Kabu Hana Bahu Murti Karya Anurupa Prabhu Prakashaya Shakti. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. In this way, being executed by his internal potency. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. 65. Lila Veshe Prabhura Nahi Nija Sandhana Icha Jani Lila Shakti Kari Samadhanam. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is stated in the Upanishads, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Svabhaviki Jana Bhala Kriyacha. The Supreme Lord has multiple potencies which act so perfectly that all consciousness, strength and activity are being directed solely by His will. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.8. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his mystic power in presenting himself simultaneously in each and every kirtana group. Most people thought that he was one, but some saw that he was many. The internal devotees could understand that the Lord, although one, was exhibiting himself as many in the different Sankirtana groups. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he forgot himself and was simply absorbed in ecstatic bliss. However, His internal potency arranged everything perfectly. This is the difference between the internal and external potency. In the material world, the external potency, material energy, can act only after one endeavors at great length. But when the Supreme Lord desires, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency. By His will, things happen so nicely and perfectly that they appear to be carried out automatically. Sometimes the activities of the internal potency are exhibited in the material world. In fact, all the activities of material nature are actually performed by the inconceivable energies of the Lord. But so-called scientists and students of material nature are unable to understand ultimately how things are happening. They evasively conclude that everything is being done by nature, but they do not know that behind nature is the potent Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Mayadakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padam Vajo Radhamadana Mohano Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimadratangara Simhasanasto Srimadrada Srila Govinda Deva Uprashtalivi Savimana Usmarami Srimandra Sarasaram Vivam Siva Tatatastitaha Karsham Veno Svanair Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestanaha Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again, the last verse, 65. Lila Veshe Prabhura Nahi Nija Sunadhana Icha Jani Lila Shakti Kari Samadhana. Indeed, the personality of God had forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. Hare Krishna. So this is one of the most ecstatic sections of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and I think Chinmoy chose very nicely that we're reading this section of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta before Gaur Purnim on Sunday. Here specifically we have the description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appearing in all the different kirtan parties simultaneously. So the Ratha Yatra, usually when we have a Ratha Yatra we only have one kirtan party because we usually are maybe 500 to 1,000 people maybe when we do Ratha Yatra in Berlin or Vienna or Heidelberg or Munich. But in big Ratha Yatra, like in Puri, or also in New York, there's a very famous Ratha Yatra that Srila Prabhupada inaugurated in 1976. So Srila Prabhupada did his first Ratha Yatra in 1967 in San Francisco, and 9 years later, the last big Ratha Yatra in America in New York, 1976. It was the last Ratha Yatra also Jayananda Prabhu organized. And there they had, I think, for the first time 3 carts, maybe before, I'm not sure. But for sure New York had this, like, it's a big avenue, 5th Avenue. It's one of the main avenues in Manhattan. And right next to the Empire State Building, 3 Ratha Yatra carts, Jagannath at the back, in the middle Subhadra, and at the very front Balaram, go down the 5th Avenue, and there are thousands of devotees, from all corners of America and from all corners of the world. And my very good Gurukul friend Radhakund, in 2008, he was doing very good in business, so he said, Govinda, you're a poor brahmachari, I'm going to pay your flight to New York and you can stay at my guest house. So there was a very amazing experience. In this Ratha Yatra, there were, I think, 3 main kirtan parties and 1 additional at the very front, I think. Something like that. So each Ratha Yatra had, each car had its kirtan party, and then additionally there was another kirtan party doing Harinam. It's a very amazing spectacle, when there's simultaneous kirtans going on along a road. And it was interesting to see, depending who was leading the kirtan, the devotees would flock. So one kirtan became more prominent sometimes, in the beginning, maybe in Balaram's, and then when Achyuta Gopi Mataji was singing in front of Subhadra Devi, then everybody went to Subhadra's cart. And so this is very amazing to see. But there is in ISKCON there is a bigger record for the most amount of kirtans in the Ratha Yatra. I think New York is probably the biggest Ratha Yatra we know of. But there's one Ratha Yatra in ISKCON which even has more kirtan parties. So probably New York is 4, maybe 3, I guess, depending which year maybe. But there is one Ratha Yatra in ISKCON which has, I forgot how many, but so many kirtan parties, I can't remember anymore how many. And it is in Denpasar. So somebody knows where Denpasar is? Denpasar. No. Denpasar is the capital of Bali. And Bali is a small island, of Indonesia, next to Lombok, so it's very far in the east, near Australia already. And Bali is the last island in Indonesia which still has Vedic tradition or Hindu tradition very visible. And therefore there are so many devotees there also. It's a small island, I think maybe 3-5 million people maximum. And they celebrate, of course, every year also Ratha Yatra. And when I realized, how big this Ratha Yatra is, I went to the very front and then I counted. I was just standing and looking at the entire Ratha, and I was counting how many parties. And I forgot how many there were, but more than 10, probably 12 or 15 or something. Plus additional, there were like proper kirtan parties, so many. Then kirtan parties they had this big cart with wheels, and then they were doing bhajan on this, like full bhajan with harmonium and everything. And then they had another kirtan party with traditional Balinese instruments. They have this like a big xylophone with ding 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 dong 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. And children's party and children Ratha Yatra, and it was really amazing to witness. So when I saw this, I was thinking, of course, of this Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because in Jagannath Puri, where the original and biggest Ratha Yatra takes place, there are, a few million people, usually around 1.5 to 2 million people are present during the Ratha Yatra celebrations. So of course there are so many different kirtan parties. Singari Bhagwan ki jai. There are so many kirtan parties which are taking place simultaneously. And the amazing description is also here that each party was very properly organized. It had a lead dancer, a lead singer, and I forgot exactly all the details, unfortunately. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared then in each of these parties in the middle and was dancing, with the devotees. So this is, of course, amazing manifestation, which we also have heard of course, in the Krishna-līlā. In the Krishna-līlā, there are 2 instances that I remember where this is also described. No, 3 instances that I remember. The first one is when Krishna is with his cowherd friends, cowherd boys. They're sitting at lunchtime. They're taking their lunch packs, and they're all packing their lunch packs. And then Krishna is sitting in the middle, and by his Lila Shakti, Krishna apparently is looking into each one of his friends' face at the same time, So there's like so many cowherd boys, surrounding Krishna. Krishna's in the middle, and they're sharing lunch boxes. They're opening, they're sharing, they're exchanging, they're feeding each other. But each cowherd boy is looking directly into Krishna's face. So this is Krishna's Lila Shakti. So simultaneously Krishna is looking at all the cowherd boys, surrounding him. And then of course the second instance is when we hear that Krishna during the rasa dance expands himself as a companion for each gopi. So each gopi during the rasa dance has the feeling, or is directly dancing with Krishna, and they are all completely absorbed in this mood, and they are completely convinced only they are dancing right now with Krishna. And we can't even fathom how amazing this is, because there are of course different descriptions, which because the Rasa Lila is not one occurrence, depending how you look at it, it occurs a few times a year, in springtime, in Kartik time, and in Kartik time twice, and but also technically the Rasa Lila is a daily occurrence every night, So, and there are some descriptions that the amount of gopis is, uncountable. Some numbers are given, but it's too big to imagine, millions and billions of gopis. And in the Gurukul we used to watch this very old Krishna Lila, and there was this very amazing, very simple special effect by the Indian movie producers, but it was very nicely done. How it's like Krishna with in the center with Radha and Krishna, and then one ring, and then another ring, and then another ring, and then they just took all of these rings and they put them all together into much bigger rings, and it's like an animal that became bigger and bigger, and then you only see like small dots, So this gigantic Rasa Mandala, So the Rasa Mandala, where each gopi is directly, between each gopi there is Krishna. Between 2 gopis there is one Krishna dancing. So this is, of course, maybe the most amazing part of Krishna Lila, or with certainty. And of course the pastimes afterwards also, where Krishna with each individual gopi is actually having Madhurya Rasa. And then the next very famous instance is of course when Krishna was in Dwarka. Krishna was in Dwarka, and Narada Muni is visiting Dwarka, and he's astonished to see Krishna in each and every of the 16,108 palaces, executing his husband duties. So in each palace, he's present separately, independently, And in each palace, he is either taking care of the children or playing chess with his children is described, or I forgot the entire list, but so many different activities, doing his rituals. So Krishna is present in every one of these palaces, and when he is called for an assembly, then out of the 16,108 palaces, all these Krishnas emerge, and they merge into one Krishna, who then walks into the assembly hall. And then when he comes back, of course, the same again. He splits again into. So it's the same Krishna, That's what it was emphasized here. It's the same Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but by his Lila Shakti, he can manifest simultaneously so many different forms. So we have read in the Srimad Bhagavatam that a yogi might have the ability to expand himself into 9 forms. In the story of Kashyapa Muni and Devahuti, we hear about him expanding himself into 9 forms. This is considered to be the limit, as far as I understand, that a conditioned soul might be able to expand his form. But Krishna, of course, is not limited at all, and is able to expand himself in, uncountable forms. The important or most amazing part, of course, of this purport and this verse is that here it's written that the Supreme Personality of Godhead forgot himself. So he's forgetting himself in his Leela, but his internal potency, his Leela Shakti, is in full control. So this is very interesting. It's very amazing. Of course, Leela Shakti, there's the Antaranga Shakti, internal energy, and then there's the Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy, Maya Shakti. And this Antaranga Shakti has all kind of different, you could say, subsections, which are very specific and unique. Usually for all the pastimes we would say Yoga Maya, she's the personality behind all of this, Lila Shakti, and there's also for Sladini Shakti, Sambit Shakti and Sandini Shakti, which sustain the spiritual world, which give pleasure in the spiritual world, and which, Sandini, Sambit. Yeah, Hladini is pleasure energy, Sambit and Sandini are maintaining, and of course consciousness, but I forgot how it was translated into the Shaktis. But the point is that this Lila Shakti, which is mentioned here directly, Lila Shakti, is in one sense you could say more powerful than Krishna. But of course it's Krishna's energy, therefore he is not in danger, or he's not going to be nothing will happen against his wish, you could say. So the Lila Shakti is so intricately connected and involved and conscious about Krishna's innermost desires, and you could say Lila Shakti is the absolute perfect assistant. For example, we hear about the story where Bal Gopal Damodar, as a small boy, he is very angry because his mother puts him aside. So now I have a small baby also, and if the baby is drinking and the mother puts the baby aside for some reason, they don't like it. Like, why? So Krishna also exhibited this Leela. Mother Yashoda was breastfeeding Krishna, and the milk started overcooking. The milk started overcooking. So Yashoda Maya, very practical. She put Krishna aside and ran to take care of the milk, and Krishna was very angry with that milk. It's like, why is this milk more important than me? She should take care of me. So Krishna became so angry that he had the impulse to do some mischief, He had the impulse to do some mischief, so he, out of anger, broke a pot, broke a pot, ate some butter, and then ran away. Because he was afraid, of the consequences of his actions. So Krishna ran away, and it is described that he was hiding. He was hiding and crying. So this is Lila Shakti, because Krishna is really a small boy and he's really afraid of his mother. He's really afraid of his mother. He's not, playing. He's not pretending. Lila Shakti is so powerful that it works even on Krishna himself. Krishna forgets himself. He forgets that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is all powerful. And Yashoda Mai is but a devotee of him. No. That wouldn't work. If Krishna would be fully conscious, of his, potency, that would spoil the rasa between Mother Yashoda and Krishna. If Krishna is all powerful, Mother Yashoda was very confused when she looked into Krishna's mouth. Krishna opened his mouth because Balaram and the boys told Mother Yashoda. He was eating earth. Children like to eat earth. I also ate earth, and my mother was always trying to avoid me eating earth. And then we came to the temple in Cusco, and the devotees told me, "This is holy earth. You can eat this earth from Tulasi." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." Then I was eating Tulasi earth, and my mother was very bewildered what to do now, because this is holy earth now. I can eat it. So Krishna was eating earth, and the boys were, sagt man, haben gepetzt. What do you say in English? No, complainer. They told on Krishna, something like that. They blackmailed. They told us Krishna. Blackmail is a little bit more sinister. So they were, telling Mother Yashoda. Krishna was eating earth. Krishna was eating earth. And Mother Yashoda is like, "Krishna, you're not supposed to eat earth. Open your mouth. I want to see your mouth." So Krishna opens his mouth. And first, of course, he didn't want to open. But then he opened his mouth. And when he opened his mouth, Mother Yashoda saw the entire cosmos. The entire universe. All the Bhur-Bhuvasvaha, the higher planets, middle planets, the lower planets. And then she saw, she was zooming in and she was seeing, Bhumandala and Bharatvarsha and Vrindavan. And then she saw herself looking into Krishna's mouth. And she became very bewildered. So Mother Yashoda became very bewildered. So in that moment, of course, she fully recognized the power of Krishna, and realized, this Krishna is very amazing, So, and then she snapped out of it, So that's the power of Lila Shakti, Lila Shakti is protecting Krishna, So Lila Shakti is, okay, Krishna, now you can manifest your full power because otherwise you will get in trouble. You can get in. So Lila Shakti allows for the potency of Krishna to be visible, and Krishna manifests, and shows Mother Yashoda this amazing manifestation. And Mother Yashoda is, completely forgot that she wanted to chastise because he was eating earth, and is completely amazed. And then she snaps out of it, but it's not that she fully forgets, She's like, I think Krishna has been cursed by some strange magic. We need to do some puja for him. And the first step she does is she takes cow dung and then smears cow dung on Krishna from head to toe. It's described. Because this is very auspicious, Because, it's called Shubha Drishti. There's different Shubha Drishtis you can do. Like before we do Ratha Yatra, we do, we can put lemons under the wheels, or we can, break a coconut, or like traditionally, like in Bengali weddings, ladies, they come with 2 palm leaves, covering their face. It's also Shubha Drishti. So all of this is to, protect, to give some protection to, when something is about to occur, or when something already happened also. When we were with Amrita in South India, when we were making the Nrsinga Kavacha, and we were staying at the small house of this goldsmith devotee in South India, in Kumbakonam, Very small story. Like one story was the goldsmith workshop, then the family's flat, and it's like maybe from the wall till here, like this, and then maybe to where Ramananda is, maybe a little bit longer. 3 stories like this. Very small house, but very nice in the middle of the temple area. And so because we were staying there with them all the time, some of the neighbors were starting to ask, what's going on there, Who are these people, who are these Westerners? So then the mother decided, okay, we have to do Shubha Drishti, because maybe somebody is looking with evil eye, with some envious intention or something. So we had to sit down in a row, the whole family, and then the mother did Shubha Drishti, She took some lemon and I think some salt or something, some camphor, and a plate with ghee and curcuma, and then a flame, and then she was going around and saying something in Tamil which we couldn't understand, and doing around and then touching our heads and our shoulders and some and then she took everything and put it outside, and then Shubha Drishti, we were good again. So very similarly, Mother Yashoda was thinking, something strange happened to my small Krishna. So she did some, ceremony. And Krishna, and as far as I remember, then Balaram was very amused, because this is all in the control of Lila Shakti. That's what we're trying to understand. That first, Lila Shakti protected Krishna from being chastised, by manifesting his power. Then Lila Shakti came back, and Mother Yashoda completely, misunderstood, because of Lila Shakti, that not her son is a Supreme Lord, but her son might be in danger. Some weird magic or some curse might be on her son. So she's completely back into the mode of a protective mother, and decides to, smear Krishna with cow dung and do some Shubha Drishti ceremony to protect him. And Balaram and the boys are very amused because now Krishna not only eat earth, but is smeared from head to toes with cow dung, which is, of course, very funny. So this is how Lila Shakti works. Lila Shakti is empowered to an incredible extent, to the point where she knows what Krishna needs. She makes the decisions for Krishna to enhance and to optimize Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes are, you could say, orchestrated by Lila Shakti in such a way that each and every pastime, is supremely divine, and rasa is stirred, and all in the best interest, of Krishna. And another very famous example, of course, is when Krishna in the rasa dance, when he left. There's a few instances actually in Krishna Lila where this happens, where Krishna manifests his form as Narayana, and so he's fully Narayan, with 4 arms, opulent, and then the gopis see Narayan, pay their obeisances, and they don't really make the connection at all, They say, so Narayan, have you seen Krishna? Could you tell us where he might have gone? So Krishna can disguise himself as Narayan, and the gopis don't recognize him. So like that, there are so many, everything, all the pastimes that we hear about, in the Lila, are all controlled by Lila Shakti. Lila Shakti is always, here it says, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. So Lila Shakti knows the intention of the Lord, knows the heart of the Lord perfectly. And this is, you could say, also the quality of a perfect disciple. So we have this very, of course, famous description. Most of you have heard it before. The classification of different qualities of disciples. Different disciples have different qualities, and depending on their maturity, and you could say also how advanced they are, how intelligent they are, a disciple might react differently. Also how conditioned a disciple might be, will react differently in the relationship with the spiritual master. Yeah? So one example is, of course, the example of the disciple who is not knowing the intentions of the guru. He doesn't know the intentions of the guru. And even when the guru expresses his intention quite clearly, he for some reason concocts the intention of the guru. So the famous example that is given is the guru says, "Oh, I'm so thirsty, please bring me some water." And the disciple is like, okay, water. But water, I mean, anybody can drink water. I think I should make some lassi, or maybe some milk, So, and then he comes back with some milk, and then the guru is like, okay, thank you, but I wanted water, just water, I'm very thirsty. And then it's like, oh, okay. So maybe water with some lemons, and then the guru is like, no, I didn't want anything sour, I just wanted water, So this is a classic example that is given of a disciple who is not in tune with the spiritual master, and it's just, out of touch, trying to make an endeavor which actually is an over endeavor, is not pleasing to the spiritual master. It actually might be even a disservice. And then of course there's the first class disciple who does not need to be told what to do. Or we can go to the second class disciple first, or the third class disciple is the disciple who does not really want to do what the guru says. It's like Srila Prabhupada told one of his disciples, okay, you're being a little bit too obnoxious, you're creating a little bit too much trouble, you have to go to China now. Like, China? Yes, you go to China. I forgot the exact conversation, but I read it once. It was a very funny conversation between Prabhupada and this disciple. He was more or less saying yeah, we might as well go to China, Yeah, we don't want to tell his name. And Srila Prabhupada, took it up. It's like, okay, you go to China. He's like, he was hesitating. He was not very happy. Or very often also Srila Prabhupada, when we were traveling in India with his disciples, and they would stop in one city, and he would look at his disciples and it's like, okay, you two go out, open a temple here, And then next train station, everybody was like, who is this going to be? So there might be some hesitancy, or maybe even you just neglect it altogether, like Kirtanananda also in the very beginning. Kirtanananda went with Srila Prabhupada to India, and he was the first disciple, of course, and he even got sannyas, I think, in Vrindavan, if I remember correctly. And then Prabhupada said, okay, now you go back and you preach in London. And Kirtanananda just went to America and opened a farm. It's like, So it was not the plan. And somehow Prabhupada still empowered him, later on. Still somehow engaged him. But it was very obvious that he was from the beginning, not following the instructions of the guru properly, neglecting the instruction directly, or if he was doing it maybe without the right, you could say with some envy, or not fully surrendered. Then the second class disciple is the soldier. He's the soldier. Aye, sir. So in America it's very common that because there are many military families, they call the father sir. Sir, yes, sir. So this is second class disciple. Basically, whatever the guru says, yes, sir. And executes it exactly. Water, okay, water. So this is the second class disciple. And the first class disciple, he's like, you could say, like Srila Prabhupada used to say, in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a whole sequence of purports where he describes how we of course don't want to merge into Brahman and become one with Brahman, but a devotee is one with the Lord. You know? And we just recently also heard the description of in the Bhagavatam of Dhruva Maharaj, who became one with the heaviness of the Lord. You know? So Srila Prabhupada says that that a devotee is one with the desire of the Lord. You know? So a devotee is one with the desire of the Lord, and therefore he is one with the Lord, but he's not sacrificing his individuality or his personality. So it's not spiritual suicide where we give up our individuality, but we are one in desire. You know, and Srila Prabhupada says, just like a couple, you know, who are very connected, who love each other so much, they consider themselves to be one body. You know, and you consider always the other the better half. You know, so this is, you know, an ideal partnership. You know, where you are so connected. You know? So devotee, a disciple should have a first-class disciple is that connected with the spiritual master. You know, he really understands the mood, the wish, the desire, you know, of the spiritual master, and acts proactively. You know, in that direction. So anybody who had the chance to, you know, serve a spiritual master, this is the duty of the servant. You know, to really observe, you know, and be very attentive. You know, so if you are a little bit attentive, you usually can learn relatively fast. You know, so you know when he moves in a certain way, you know already what he wants. You know, he doesn't need to tell you. You know, or if he has been, and bringing water is a very good example, of course. You know, it's like you always bring water to the spiritual master to drink. You know, because you know he will be. You know, you also cook in advance. The guru doesn't have to tell you, okay, I'm hungry. Are you going to cook? You know, you cook in advance. You know he's going to be hungry. So some things are very obvious, but of course, the more you spend intimate time with the spiritual master, you realize that you have to be very attentive. You know, and the more you understand his internal desire, you act accordingly. So we hear, for example, Rupa Goswami, we chant always this mantra, no? Caitanya mano vistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati svaparantikam. So Rupa Goswami is described as somebody who fully knew the internal desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So based on this understanding, he established, you know, our sampradaya, basically you could say, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually did not create an institution in that sense. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't even write books, you know, he only left 8 verses, Shikshastakam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just instructed Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, and they fully understood the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They understood the desire, and based on this understanding, you know, Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Mana means the mind or the heart. Rupa Goswami fully understands and feels and knows what the desire, what the mind wish is of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore establishes in this world Krishna consciousness. You know? Everything we have is thanks to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Our entire tradition, our entire, you know, we are all Rupanugas. You know? We are following Rupa Goswami, and all the, you could say, scriptures that were written by the 6 Goswamis. All of these are, you know, examples for devotees who fully understood the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and based on this understanding manifested, you know, so many things. And yes, so Leela Shakti is of course the best disciple, you could say. She knows exactly what the Lord, you know, she's the perfect orchestrator, you know. You know, as a servant of the Guru, you might have to organize a tour, and you know, like it was really funny sometimes when you were the servant of the spiritual master, you have to protect the spiritual master also. You know, Because, so many people want to go to the spiritual master, And he's very tired, he's actually doesn't have any energy more, And so many people are asking you, please, could I have a darshan, please, me and my family and my friends and my aunt, we all want to go, And so you try to protect the spiritual master because actually he's tired, And you tell the guest, and I'm really sorry, he cannot meet anybody anymore, And then for some reason the spiritual master maybe hears it and he's like, oh, who's there? Let them in, And you're like standing there a little bit like awkward, But that's the duty, of the servant. You fully understand his desire, so you work according to that. At the same time, of course, his wish is supreme, So if he wishes, he can override and say, no, I want to meet this person now, And a very similar situation happened with Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, but I forgot the exact lila, but it was exactly the same situation, where I think it's not exactly as it is, but more or less it was a situation where a servant was keeping somebody outside of Prabhupada's rooms, and then because he knew Prabhupada actually was not really wanting to meet specifically that person, And then, for some reason, Prabhupada then actually, that person saw Prabhupada or got to talk to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me he's here?" So Prabhupada directly used the disciple as an excuse, to, why didn't you tell me he's here? You should have told me. I'm so glad he came. And then, of course, this is a very intimate situation. Actually, it might be a little bit awkward at the moment for you, because you might feel a little bit. But in reality, this is the position of Lila Shakti. She's serving the Lord, and at one moment she's allowing the opulence to be shined through. The next moment she's covering that potency of the Lord, and basically, this is the working of Yoga Maya. Lila Shakti specifically here, but Yoga Maya in general is this potency which allows us to forget that Krishna is God, allows Krishna himself to forget that he is God, in order to make the relationships more intimate. So Mahamaya, this external illusory energy of the Lord, has the effect that we forget our Swarupa, we forget who we are, we forget our spiritual identity, we identify with material energy, we're controlled by the senses, by the three gunas, and we completely, get lost, in the fool's paradise, But when we get to the original paradise, in the company of the Lord, there is also Maya. This is the spiritual Maya, because Maya means energy actually also. Mama Maya Duratyaya, says Krishna. This Maya, my energy is insurmountable, is so powerful. Nobody can overcome material energy. But if you take shelter of me, very easily you can leave her behind. And then we are under the shelter of Yoga Maya, or you could say Radharani, Bhakti Devi, Lila Shakti. All of this is the same tattva. We are praying every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh pleasure potency of the Lord, oh internal potency of the Lord, oh Mother, please, give us shelter. So we are asking to be taken into the custody of Yoga Maya, of Antaranga Shakti, internal Shakti. Because once we are under the control of this internal Shakti, we also will experience different layers of illusion and forgetfulness, but spiritual, And you have to be qualified to be allowed to forget, It's a different form of forgetting, because when you forget the opulence of Krishna, you actually become more and more intimately connected with Krishna. It is a requirement to actually forget his, opulence and power. Because ultimately Krishna is not God. Krishna is a side hobby of, God is a side hobby of Krishna. It's not his main occupation. The main occupation of Krishna is being Krishna in Vrindavan. That's really him. And everything else are just, expansions and plenary expansions of himself that execute all kinds of purposes and, manifest or maintain or kill demons, all kinds of different, energies and potencies and expansions he manifests. But these are all secondary to his primary lila in Vrindavan. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Maybe there are some questions, something to be added. Yes. Ist an? Vielleicht ist es nicht.
Jetzt. Why is it important to know first about Krishna's opulence and majesty before you can forget it again?
Mhm.
Why not just go to the highest?
I think you know, but I'll tell you still.
I always want to hear those things again for my purification.
Because we have basically it's the rasa tattva is a science very similar to Sankhya Yoga. Just like the elements from the subtle to the gross manifest, in a similar way the rasas build up upon each other. So Shanta rasa is the foundation that you appreciate, neutrally that God exists. Like pantheism, you appreciate nature, you're in tune with nature, you have some sattva guna, And like Ramakana Maharaj was once telling how he was in a boat with some devotee somewhere in the north, I forgot where, and this captain of the boat, he started talking to him, and he started talking about the sunsets, because he's in the sea very often. I'm sure you've heard this lecture from Maharaj, maybe remember. Quite a few times he told it. And this captain was like really in ecstasy describing the sunsets, because he's always in the sea, these amazing sunsets and this huge, and he was like so like appreciative, how beautiful it is and the colors and like how powerful it is to witness the sunsets, and then the next moment he was basically like Prabhu Maharaj said, like explaining like he had like a spiritual vision, like a spiritual experience, And then the next moment he was back to his normal, sailor consciousness, you could say, But this is the foundation, if you really appreciate, because we know in the Virat Rupa, we also observe nature and see the Lord in nature, the bones as the mountains as his bones, the clouds as his hair, the sun and the moon as his two eyes, the rivers as his veins, etc. So we appreciate the nature as his Virat Rupa, his universal form. And of course also the elements, we have a description of the elements, all the different elements being different parts of his body, and third canto, I think. And all of this is a Shantarasa. You have some appreciation and understanding. And based on that, at one point you will feel, if you understand that behind that there is a person, you have the natural awe and reverence. You have not only like mutual appreciation, but actual personal appreciation. And then you have respect. And because if it's a person, then it's amazing. One person has so much power, so much might, so much consciousness, so much omniscience. So naturally, you realize your position. You can also realize how small you are before that. Like this universe is so big and I'm, so small. But if it becomes a person, naturally you realize I am certainly subordinate to that person. I am subordinate, and I should give up, my misconception of being myself the controller, myself, the enjoyer. And you should be able, seeing the might and greatness of the Lord, to surrender to Him. And of course many religions, especially the religions which are very common, the number 1 and number 2, they have this strong tendency to emphasize very often, fear your Lord. Out of fear, you follow, Don't be sinful because the Lord is watching you, and writing everything down, and He will chastise you. So this is a natural, you could say, psychology, that if you respect somebody, if you're afraid of somebody, you tend to follow, You tend to, not rebel because you realize how small you are. But that is, of course, a relationship that it's, you could say, rigid, and also maybe even not healthy, to some. If it's like you always out of fear, it's the only reason why you're following. It's not really out of love necessarily. It's out of it's like when somebody who's very powerful, you don't like this person at all, but because the person is very powerful or very wealthy, you are intimidated. It doesn't mean you really like the person, but you behave nicely because, I better behave nicely, who knows what the person is going to do to me, Like many absolute monarchs, had this tendency, or dictators maybe also in recent times, don't look weird at me because, kill him, Like many kings had this hobby, they were like, hang him, hang him, this was their main mantra. The king constantly was hanging people. And when it became too much, there's so many stories like that, then the people just realized, this guy's a little bit crazy, say they just, okay, of course we're going to hang him, and it's like, just go out the door, And they didn't really hang him actually, but the king thought he had killed so many people. Nobody was afraid of him anymore, really, but they still respected him because, he was the king. So like that. So Krishna should not remain in that position. There's much more to Krishna than that, of course. And then, of course, there's Sakhya. There's friendship. And of course, in a healthy way, when you appreciate somebody for their greatness, you admire their qualities. You want to serve that person. You want to please that person. So there's a positive side, of course, as well of it. And then friendship starts, and then it becomes more and more intimate. But I hope that helps. Huh? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Simhachalam Dham ki jai.